Hi everyone, welcome to Babbling Irons. We are today breaking away from the monotony of the Premier League and the kind of doldrum that we're in, and we're going to be covering West Ham versus AEK Larnaca in the round of 16, first leg, Europa Conference League. So let's get into the game. So, Sloth, we are in the round of 16. How do you feel about the Europa League conference to date? Do you think it's gone well? Are you happy with that? Obviously, we know about the league position, but how do you feel about at least the Europa conference at the moment?
I feel like it's something we have to kind of go far in now. I know a lot of people are saying that it's kind of irrelevant. People seem to be mocking it. I saw some of Simon Jordan's comments today, and I kind of just think it's just tatter from other clubs and other fans. But if you're in a competition at the end of the day, you want to win it. So
let's put it this way: I think any of those clubs that are around us in the league or just above us would kill to win this competition because it puts you in the more prestigious one of Europa League. So let's be honest, people can deride it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see the likes of Jose Mourinho last season looking crestfallen about winning the competition, or Roma, who won their first ever European competition. So let's have it right. If a team like Roma, who is more prestigious than us, and a manager of Jose Mourinho puts this as another kind of badge of honor, I think we need to pay the competition some respect. It's in its fledgling years, so yeah, it doesn't have history, but this gives us a route into Europa League, which we're not going to get through the league. So it has wider positive connotations for us, providing we stay up. If we win this competition,
exactly. I think it's a nonsense to deride it. It's what it's worth something at the end of the day, and it's a trophy. It's not the Betway Cup. It's not the Emirates Cup. It's an actual trophy. So we are cutting your nose off to spite your face if you're devaluing it. And as you said, we're not gonna reach Europa League at this rate, and this is a way into it if we want that for next season, should we win it. So I do feel quite confident about it. I think it's been the one kind of saving grace of this season has been our form in the competition. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I think, fingers crossed, it's going to be a time when we see someone returning and getting a bit of match fitness as well.
Before we get into the predicted XI, let us kind of run through the opposition. So, AEK Larnaca, they came second in their league. Obviously, they only played 26 games in that league and came second, obviously. Over the course of this season, they've been in every UEFA competition. So they started off in the Champions League qualifiers, obviously didn't get through, had to go into the qualifiers then for Europa League. Happened to beat Dnipro, who they've actually just beaten the last round in the Conference League. Weird kind of, full circle for them. They obviously beat Dnipro to go into the Europa League, obviously lost out in that competition to come into conference, beat Dnipro in the last round, and now obviously facing us. So I think it's safe to say that they're not a team of mugs. We shouldn't be going into this and kind of assuming it's going to be an absolute walkover. Granted, the level of quality is much lower looking at the games, and in particular the game against Dnipro, both legs. It was quite devoid of quality. And it's very much to the standard of teams that we've played so far. No disrespect to those teams, but we did beat them quite convincingly in some cases. And obviously last year, the team that we're going to talk about as our predicted 11 was also playing and beating teams of a higher standard. So whilst we shouldn't be disrespectful for AEK because they're going to be up for it, so are their fans, we should also be going into it with a level of confidence. So, not sure if you watch much of the Cypriot League or watch much of AEK, but how do you feel, with the game, about these opponents? How do you kind of feel about it?
No, I mean, I can't pretend that I watch a lot of AEK. I watch a lot of football, but I don't tend to target the Cypriot League. So we shall see. But I mean, it would be the most West Ham thing ever to go over there and lose. So it's not me being derisory in any way to say that. It's just it would be very West Hammy if we went there and lost and had to really throw the kitchen sink in the second leg. So do I think we will? No, I think we might concede. It really wouldn't surprise me. But I think we could easily get three goals. And with that, it should be a bit of a nice base to build from. I think even, as I mentioned, before we start with the lineups, we've got the quality in rotation that we really should be scoring goals. So I'm not too concerned that we will lose by a big margin. And if we do lose, which, as I said, would be the most West Ham thing possible, then I think it'll only be by one. Yeah. And it's something that, coming back to the London Stadium, I think everyone would be pretty confident.
I don't really disagree with you there at all. And, when we talk around, obviously, the game, we're talking about particular XI. Frankie and I, on the last review, kind of mentioned that really arguably we should probably be taking our B team, leaving a majority of the A team actually at home, not travelling, because, Moy said they got tired travelling up to Manchester. So heaven forbid the tiredness that is going to be within their minds and their legs if they have to go to Cyprus. So
it's the benefits of a small squad, isn't it? You're traveling around and you get tired, but it's the benefits of a small squad.
And that's what our manager likes. He likes a small squad, and therefore he must like them tired, because that obviously gets the best out of them. So then this is the point, right? Last season that we were told the benefits of the squad and what it does. Now we're told a trip to Manchester after a big game against Nottingham Forest is brought tiredness to the players. Now we could be mentally, but still tired. 2 games in a week, and we're about to now go into a situation where we're going to be playing games in very heavy succession over not only the course of this month. Well, this month actually is quite sparing, but April is going to be incredibly busy. I think there's about 9 games we have to play, and that's not accounting for any potential Europa conference we might have in that time as well.
I'm generally very sort of conscious of the impact on travel, on footballers and athletes in general. Obviously, I studied sports science for a while, and it's something that any sort of team has to take into consideration. But I do think that when you're talking about footballers who are, let's face it, going to have either first-class flights, or they're going to have essentially a first-class seat in a team coach up to Manchester United, complaining about tiredness is taking the proverbial. It's nonsense. Now, we will get managers saying that travel does impact them. Of course it does in a lot of ways. But when you're talking about a team who have only really had to domestically travel around the UK slightly, it's really not something that I can have sympathy with. And as we've said many times, the teams we've seen in the Conference League us play, tiredness should not be a factor. So therefore, if you're playing the same teams in domestic cups the whole time, you have to really ask questions of your fitness staff, of your medical staff, of your training facilities, which I think every West Ham fan and their dog is probably well aware of. So it's a bold statement of me that I'm not really I'm not too concerned about that, even though, let's face it, we have the facilities and staffing, by all accounts, of a League One level club.
I think that's a fair point to say. And, we're joking about the whole tiredness thing, but again, it's another excuse that's been given. So with that in mind, we talked about in the last stream we did about in the Brighton review, saying that really we probably should be only taking our B team to this game and leaving those first teamers who are going to have to play a vital role in the Villa game, which is an absolute must win, to keep them at home. So just to take a sparing number. With that in mind, this is kind of how we feel maybe we'll line up. Now, it might be too early for the likes of Cornet, but again, he did play for the under-21s recently for 45 minutes. So there's every chance that he will be utilised in this game to kind of come in maybe for 45 minutes just to kind of give him a good run out away from home. Again, we saw Bowen dropped in the game against Manchester United, so we could see Fornals on that side. Also, we could see those two flipped onto the opposite wings, which would make a bit of sense. I would expect Cresswell to come back into the lineup, probably taking the captain's armband as he is, obviously a vice captain. We don't have much choice in goal because obviously Fabianski is injured. If we are looking to, say, bring back the likes of Zuma I would suspect to be in the Villa game, not in this one. Therefore, Bono and Kerr is the obvious pairing. Johnson, I think, again, will play because I think Soufal will maybe be back for the Villa game as well. And again, I think the midfield's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much been our midfield throughout the tournament. We've played Souček in there, Lanzini's played, and Downs has also been in there. So I think the midfield today as it is, I think Souček was that one player that seemed to always play. Now, you could say maybe one of those is dropped out of that midfield three to accommodate Rice, but I think, in all honesty, in light of the Villa game, we need to probably go with that kind of lineup. And, it's not meant as a disrespect to AEK Larnaca at all. And I think we should be honest that lineup, if we're saying that lineup is not good enough to beat a team from the Cypriot League, again, no disrespect intended, then we should be questioning ourselves as a Premier League club that has multi-million pounds B teams. Our B team probably cost a far more than the Larnaca team. If that B team cannot beat that team, then we arguably shouldn't be in the tournament anyway. So what do you think about the 11? Do you think that's kind of spot on? Do you think that's how we probably should line up? Or would you maybe bring in maybe one or two of the traditional first team?
That's probably how I'd line up. I don't see the point in bringing in first team players for this game. As I said, I don't really see us losing it. I think this is a chance for the players who will have seen the result of the weekend, have seen the anger of the fans, and they'll be thinking, even though it is, let's face it, a lesser side, lesser league opposition, they will be thinking, that I'm not going to do myself any harm if I go out and give a great performance. If I play well, then the potential for the next game is, whether we can see it happening or not, is Moyes changing his mind, but more importantly, probably for them, the fans being more vocal about it. Mm-hmm. And I think Downs is someone who we know we can rely on in the Europa Conference League. He's given a good account of himself in every game that we've played. Lanzini, I think, again, we've both covered him enough, and our thoughts on his contract situation are on the record. However, this is a game where he can go out, he can give the fans something to cheer about, and leave with his head held high if that should happen. Now, it's in terms of players who I want to see play, I do want to see players getting match fitness. I think Cornet is going to be a big part of the end of the season if we manage him properly, and obviously bringing him back from a long absence it's never easy reintroducing a player, but it's pretty much a no-brainer to get him involved. Now, whether that's from the start or whether that's off the bench after 55, 60 minutes, then that's up to the manager. But I would be using this as a chance for players like Cornet, Scamacca, Downs to build their confidence and put a bit of a claim down.
Yeah, completely agree. And obviously with the tournament as is, I think we can name up to 12 subs as well. So again, probably taking a higher number of youth players, maybe even rewarding a number of players from the under-18 squad who's played so well this season, bringing them along for the journey is probably a better idea in light of the recent conversations around energy levels and players feeling tired. So maybe rewarding some of those players with a position on the bench, obviously taking maybe some precautionary players like the likes of Antonio, maybe Danny Ings, along with the team.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't even be looking at that. I think if you got Louis Zhao, who we've seen some very interesting comments come out of Moyes again, saying that he's been quite happy with his progress, but he's probably already got a loan lined up for next season. And you think, well, you could get him involved in the Europa Conference League now, have a little look at him, and he's complaining about tired. It could potentially be complaining about tired.
We registered Luzial though for.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. I think Ocoflex we did, so there's every chance we might see Ocoflex, because I think we could name 3 replacements or 3 additions. I think Ocoflex was one of those. Danny Ings would have been another. So I would maybe suspect Ings and maybe Ocoflex to be part of the squad. We might again leave the likes of Antonio at home, Rice.
I mean, I would be using this as a chance for Mubama to come in, and what's the harm in playing him? If you want to play 4-4-2, if you want to mix it up, if you give him 30 minutes at the end of the game, if you say to Scamacca, go out, grab yourself a couple of goals, and then 60, we're going to put the young lad on, let him get a bit of a feel for European competition. And again, without disrespect to AEK, this is a side who it should be about the level that he's faced, maybe a little bit higher, but he's already had a couple of appearances this season, and you would be thinking, why not get him involved?
Yeah, you'd kind of think that the likes of maybe a Gideon, Mubama, Orfield, Alford. The other kid whose name has just escaped me, who's had a really good season for the under-18s. Obviously, got Ollie Charles as well. You're probably going to see the likes of Hedgie, and obviously Anang's going to be there anyway because we don't have any other goalkeepers. Mm-hmm. You'd like to think that some of those lads who have performed so well at the under-18s is going to be brought forward, maybe even the likes of even Marshall, for instance, as well. Because, again, they're such young players. They're going to be a bit more versatile, a bit more malleable. The way in the positions they play at under-18 level is not necessarily going to be where they play in a first team, for instance. One or two of them might progress into a winger, maybe progress into an attacking midfielder. You just don't know how the development will grow over time. But you would like to think that the lads who have outright performed at that under-18 level is going to be brought into the bench so that we can prioritise. I think that's the truth of it, is whilst we want to go forward with this, we have to prioritise the league. And that probably means in this game, maybe sacrificing taking such a strong squad, still take a strong team, because again, I think that B team, as we suggested, is still strong. This is a strong 11 if we're looking at this competition. We shouldn't be looking at that as a disservice to us fans. I think that is a strong team. I think a number of those players we've called to be in our first team. So
I mean, even if you look at that side, people are talking about giving Ogbonna another year. They're talking about giving Cresswell a contract extension, and they're talking about Lanzini getting an extension. Yeah, exactly. Those are three players who, you know, potentially you could argue either way, but we can't say that's not a strong side if we've got those options there. Players who people want to keep around.
Yes, so I guess really, Sloth, you know, how do we approach the game? I think we've seen over the course of this season, we've been quite lethargic early. We have, in general, just been a bit slow in games, and that's included Europa Conference. So do you think Moyes might look at this opposition, may look at these players and say, right, go out there and prove to me I'm wrong in not playing you. I want you to go out and express yourselves. Do you think he might allow the team to open up a bit because of the team that we're playing and because of the players he's likely to play are maybe fringe players? Do you think he may open up a little bit and be a bit more, I guess, willing to try a positive approach? Because obviously there is also some rumblings and rumours that there was an altercation between Nolan and David Moyes on the sidelines at the last game. Not something huge, but it was a disagreement between the two, and Nolan looking clearly disgruntled, and obviously Rice later in the game also demoralised in his own words about the performance. So do you think that this might be a game that to get away from the negativity of the Brighton game, he may actually say, you know what, let's just go and enjoy the game. Let's go and try and play. I know that's not necessarily within his nature, but do you think he may, due to the team, maybe go with that idea, that kind of thought process to the players and maybe allow them to be a bit more expressive?
I think that's what we really should be viewing it as. Whether it is or not, then, you know, we will see. But this is, in my opinion, this is what we should be doing with all the cups at the moment, or especially the domestic cups, because let's face it, the money in European football coverage and the chance of going into the Europa League next year as well, that's a lot of money on the table, and it's also something that gives you a bit of a prestige when you go into the transfer market. You have that on you, and you can say, we can give you European football. So for me, we should be focusing on it, and we should be using it as a chance to get players into form, give them game time, give them a chance to impress. I would be very disappointed if we're not looking at doing that tomorrow, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. And that's the sad thing at the moment, is that I just kind of, I'd be disappointed, but I'm not surprised. And I think that's the way I'm viewing a lot of the West Ham results and a lot of the kind of build up to the games, is that I'd be disappointed if we lost, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it feels a bit potential banana skin, Astra, Gugu levels of Europa Conference or Europa kind of competition. Let's hope it's not that, but you know, it does have, I think, with the whole negativity at the moment around how we're playing and certain players clearly not happy with not being involved, and just the general indecision throughout games as well from Moyes, that we could see much of the same, and we could see a team that's at odds with itself and not understanding what they need to do. Let's hope that is not the case. Let's hope that there's been some maybe, you know, come to Jesus moments at the training ground over the last few days after that Brighton game, and players and managers.
Is he one of Sully's South American specialists?
Yeah, one of his South Americans he's just called in. He's really big in Brazil, apparently.
He's the redeemer.
The redeemer, yeah. So let's just hope we've kind of had those conversations, which has meant there's maybe going to be a more flexible approach. I don't think it's within Moyes' nature. I think we've seen him be a bit more flexible in Europa League Conference or Conference League. I think that's mainly because of the standard of the opposition. He's more looking at as to, well, we should be the superior team and therefore act in that way. Where I think in the Premier League, he's a lot more pragmatic, if I'm being polite. So let's just hope we do go and attack the game. But before we kind of go, Sloth, who do you think based on that predicted 11 for us, who would you say is going to be the key in which to get the result against Larnaca to ensure that we go to the London Stadium on the correct footing, and that obviously we can then look to progress into essentially the final 8?
I think that our forward options are going to be the big ones for us, and there's no reason that we can't be looking at Scamacca coming in and getting a couple of goals. We know he can absolutely leather a football. We've seen him do it for us in this competition, but also against Leeds. He can score those long distance goals, and I think if we're looking at pace, then you're looking at Cornet, and I don't really want Bowen to play. I think he's been useless this season, to be honest. I've said it in the summer, we needed competition there to really push him because he is such a one-dimensional player, but it just hasn't happened. And that right side has been something we really exposed on. If we play Fornals there, then at least we get a bit of work rate, which he doesn't offer. And people were saying after the Forest game and games previous where he got a couple of goals, it would be a kicking on point. We haven't seen it. So I would quite like to see a refresh. Do I think it's going to happen? Again, not really. I think at this point in the season, if Moyes hasn't tried something, he's probably not going to do anything unless he's forced into it. The only reason he would be resting Bowen, the only reason that Bowen wouldn't feature is he's resting him. And in that case, I don't think he would have, he'd be in the squad. So we'll see. But I think Downs has got the quality to run that centre mid. We've seen him do it in Europe before. If Lanzini plays as well, again, he's got the experience and the quality. So I'm expecting a win, but it's going to come down to the likes of Cornet and Scamacca. If we can finish, if we can get in behind them, which I'm sure we can, then I can't see it. I can't see us not scoring. But the issue is if our players start right, because they'll be up for it, they'll be looking for a scout. If we start right, then we should easily, we should be able to fend them off. So.
Yeah, completely agree. There's not much I can add to that, really. Truth is, we've got to earn the right to play. So we have to start with the right attitude to do those hard yards first. Once you've done that, then you can start to impose your style. But you have to at least match their effort levels. And then once you've done that, you can then maybe start to, put your quality over the top of them. We should have the quality to beat them, or at least come back with a draw to set us up for the next game. We have to aim for a win, really, because it's that nice confidence boost prior going into the game against Villa. Again, I still would say take the B team and leave a lot of the A team, shall we say, at home. I just think that we need to prioritise the league and maybe the home game. We need to get a positive result with Villa first. So this game, I would take a hit from a selection point of view, but that selection hit shouldn't impact our ability in which to beat a Larnaca. There's no disrespect being given to them. It's just the truth in that this is the same level of quality we've played in Europa League last season, in Europa Conference this season. And these players have been beating those players comfortably. And again, that should be the same thing that we take into it. And maybe if we give a chance to maybe a fringe player, they may get that motivation to make a point. If maybe one or two of the youth players are taken, they may come on and also prove to be something useful for us, the likes of Sawyer, Gideon, Mbamba, Charles, and so on. These types of players may take this as an opportunity, or maybe given this as an opportunity in which to just bring something fresh to the team. But if we win this game, we put ourselves in a good place for Aston Villa. Puts us in a good place to going into the round of 8. So, what's your score prediction before we then head out? Let's just do our score predictions. What are you going for?
I'm going to say 3-1 to us. I think we should have the game buried in this leg, but I think we'll probably concede a goal. Probably be a really sloppy one as well.
Yeah. No, I was going to go for 2-1, and for exactly the same thing. I think we'll make some sort of silly mistake, and they'll just score a scrappy goal off of someone's arse, most likely, as they try and clear from a corner. It's probably going to be like one of those goals that goes in. I reckon if anything, we might concede first, but I think we'll rally and come through. I just think that's just how
that would be very West Ham.
It would, but I think it'd also be good in some ways for them to go 1-0 down and come back. They've not really done it this season. So again, it's just a little confidence boost for the players to know that if you do go down in a game, you can come back again, a Larnaca. But it's always good to know that you can essentially triumph over adversity, as corny as that sounds. But yeah, so we're both going for a win. Hopefully that is the case. And good, everyone remember the game is 5:45 UK time. So don't tune in at 7:45 expecting to watch the game. It will be over by that stage. So 5:45 UK time. For all the hammers out there in Larnaca, have a great one. I'm sure you guys are going to be living it up with in Iron Napa all to yourselves. So best of luck to you. I hope you guys will have a great time. Yeah. And let's hope we get 3 points. So yeah, one last thing to say, Sloth, and that is
come on, you Irons.
Irons.